right.
We're in the right place.
Sweet.
Well, nope, that's yesterday. We're not in the right place.
We're not.
We should be.
I thought I saw it.
I just have to. There we go. The internet's slow. All right.
Hey
Hello.
guys.
What's up?
Welcome
Hi.
in.
How's it going?
Hey. Good to see you.
Just got home from work like an hour ago. We just did a meditation. Try to get focused. Today was like my 8th day in a row, my 8th day working in a row. So don't mind me if I'm like falling asleep over here.
Yeah, we can give it a moment like we have been.
Yeah, just because you never know.
Just curious, did you guys ever have the opportunity to look into the 100 and 104 hertz binaural beats?
I fell asleep
Last
night. Yeah, I didn't get to listen to it for very long.
It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
That's good.
We just started doing it like every day when we get home from work, like recently.
Oh, you did? That's great.
We do it at night. We always do it at night. We always meditate before bed. We put on our own headphones usually.
Yeah. So since you did it, what are your thoughts on it? Just give it a couple more minutes.
I think sometimes with that, like with something like that, like it takes a couple times, like because there's some times where you're just not able to focus as well as others. You know what I mean? Not to stay as alert or to keep your mind, your thoughts from popping in. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I have a hard time quieting my mind. Yeah, not all the time, but
excuse me.
It's not always that you can get as deep as you can sometimes. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's, it's definitely one of those circumstances when you go into listening to things like the binaural beats that, you gotta like kind of envelop yourself into it. So it's and when you envelop yourself into it, you feel yourself kind of becoming the frequency itself, and that's what happened to me the other night, which is why I wanted to tell you guys about it. It was I felt like I was being slungshot out and back into my body, and I thought that was a really neat sensation because back during quarantine when I was doing a lot of meditation and trying to work on having this astral projection or out of body experience, I found myself having very similar sensations like I did with the binaural beats, and I thought that was pretty cool. So
the other 2 nights ago, I did a hypnosis that was like that. It was a voice instead of the music. The voice was in both ears and it was going back and forth. And honestly, I thought it was pretty effective in changing my state of awareness. Yeah. But it's hard to tell like what the result would be since I didn't do it more than once yet. Yeah. It is pretty cool. I didn't realize that they mix them together. I mean, I've studied a little bit about hypnotherapy, but I didn't realize that they could do it like that. I mean, it makes sense. They do it for ASMR videos, so they have ASMR hypnotherapy too. So that makes sense.
So I see we got another person in. We'll go ahead and start here. Who's the other person that's in here today?
Hi. I don't know.
It's all good.
Yeah, actually, I've really considered taking QHHT a couple times. I just haven't had the cash all at once to do it. She doesn't take smaller payments, so it's like $600 twice, and I just haven't had it like that. But that's actually probably going to be my next certification. Yeah. Hi, Mike. How are you doing today? Thanks for joining us. Um, yeah, it might be hard to tell who we're talking to at some point since there's only two of you. Really, there's three of you, but two separate Facebook accounts. It might not be too hard. But if either one of you could figure out, if you leave this video and go right above it, it says streamyard.com/Facebook. If you put your name in there, we'll be able to tell. Hi.
Welcome in. Just
Thanks
in
for
time.
joining us. Yeah, we didn't
Thank
really
you.
get started yet. We were just babbling about binaural beats.
So, yeah, guys, welcome in here. I'm actually kind of excited to talk about this content tonight. I wanted to start off tonight's class with religious trauma syndrome. As I spoke briefly the other night, the first night, I was raised in a very devout Christian home, and I just kind of wanted to break down the reasons why I feel that this is important to bring into awareness. Not that everybody suffers from religious trauma syndrome who was raised in a home, a Christian home, but people, even though they're not, there are people that are still in the faith, and there are people who leave it because people, I guess, feel different kinds of sensations. As Alan Watts put it, many Christian has admitted to falling short. I fall short of the example of Jesus. And as long as you continue to admit that to yourself, you are.
It's thinking you're unworthy. It's unworthiness. Probably fear and shame too.
It's all kinds of things. But as long as you admit that, you're okay, because the Christian faith specifically, like, I'm not saying that any other ones haven't, but we're just going to stick with the Christian mythology because it's so predominant, especially in this part of the world. But what he says is Christianity has constitutionalized guilt as a virtue. So as long as you admit that you are unworthy, the better you are. And this strips us completely of all of our self-worth, our self-love, our ability to have self-respect, and because everything is exterior. Everything that matters, all power that exists is always from somewhere else. And people are left to feel very small and insignificant, as it's even stated in Scripture. We are nothing but filthy rags in the eyes of God. That's a horrible, very depressing way to see your existence here on Earth. With one life to get it right, you spend your entire life with this perpetual anxiety, trying to measure up to something you'll never be worthy of having, which is grace and the Father's love. And really, the way I interpret that specific scripture, we are nothing but filthy rags. I think, doctrines have the canons have been reinterpreted and altered multiple times. But I wouldn't say that the way when you say when it's written that we're nothing but filthy rags. I mean, we're talking about spirit in the purest form, in the purest light, in the purest of all things that are spiritual and all things that are harmonious and divine. These skin suits that we wear, and the way that we diseases, and the things that is just the body itself is but a flesh, sorry, a dirty rag. It's because it's something that is totally um opposite of what
Or
be of spirit, or not spirit, I'm sorry, I'm losing track of my words here, I apologize, but it's something that's totally opposite to what is divine, but though the body contains divinity. And
yeah, because you want to know what fixes that when you are feeling that way, to drop into your body.
right,
It's
right.
a trauma is, trauma work is body centered work. It's not centered in the mind. And that's, I guess that just makes perfect sense.
But yeah, it's if you imagine spirit as a brilliant light, and then you look at the body, not that the body isn't something disgusting, but would if you had the choice right now to be spirits, or experience like that pure singularity and its rawest, most purest form, in comparison to being in the body, most people would choose to leave the struggles and the torments and the traumas and stuff of the in the ego of the body. So like, I think it's more of a mental state, to think that.
Yeah, because the body's also a bridge between the physical and the non-physical, and I think that's
Exactly.
what they're trying to push you away from knowing, right?
Right. I think that there's a lot of things that are divinely inspired.
There's nothing wrong with the body.
No, there's nothing wrong with the body. I mean, we are.
It's not like it's evil or anything. Like,
Right.
it's actually the greatest tool we have in this realm, and they just don't want us to learn how to use it.
Right.
For the right way to use it.
So there's all kinds of different.
Same thing with your imagination.
Exactly. But the religious trauma that, as I was saying, is basically bringing you down to a point where you feel completely hopeless, and you're always going to be hopeless unless you confess your unconditional love and surrender your hearts and sacrifice basically yourself to having a relationship with something that you know nothing about. They want, even though that's not present, they would look they say that this is the only way, the only thing worth dying for. And it's I can speak from experience that the way of growing up in a Christian home made me feel very uncomfortable because I felt that there was so much more to it. I just knew that, like, just intrinsically as a child. And as a child, I questioned a lot of the things except for the teachings that came from Jesus, which was basically love without prerequisites. It was, there was no judgment. There was, it was all about coming together, helping your fellow man, being an example, unity. Yeah. Expressing love in any way, in every way possible. And that's something that we just don't see from people. And if they, a majority at least that I grew up around, if they were doing good deeds, it was to earn their way into heaven, the some paradise in the afterlife. And so it wasn't genuine. That, like, they were being a genuine fake by doing something to earn something. It didn't come from the heart. It came from earning some kind of reward for doing something. And when anybody, like even us, when we do that with another person, it doesn't feel as good when someone does that hoping to receive something from you when you ask someone else for a favor. Because then you're like, well, if I knew you were going to expect something back from me, like in that manner, and that's how I grew up around that a lot too, which made it difficult for me to ask other people for help growing up, because I always was expecting them to want something back from me if I asked them for a favor. Um, it's there's all kinds of different avenues. I just wanted to touch on that briefly because what we are taught, I'm going to try to slow down a little bit because I get carried away really fast, like I said last night.
Just breathe.
What we are taught here, though, is we are children of God, and He loves us very much. But, and it's always the but that follows the feeling that we are here on probation, that we truly are not worthy of what we have been given, but we are demanded and expected to give everything that we have because, according to God, without Him, we would not exist.
But that wasn't created to keep people under control. I can't.
And if you don't get it right, if you don't get it right and you don't give what is demanded of you, then, well, you suffer eternal torment in the other place and, separate from God. And, it's just, like I said, perpetual anxiety. It makes one live in absolute fear about getting only one chance to get life correct. In the not in your eyes.
I never believed them people. I didn't believe them people when I was 5 years old. I went to Catholic school for 12 years, and I didn't believe any of the stuff they said, even when I was little. I just kind of went through the motions like a good little girl because I'm a well-behaved little girl. That's it. Like, I just behaved for my parents, and I just did what I was supposed to do. They didn't force us to go to church, thank God. But, like, I struggled in school. I would get kicked out for, like, asking questions.
Yeah.
Because I would just continue to ask questions, like, but come on, like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then they'd get all flustered and throw me out.
No, it happened to me too. I mean, I asked questions too, and I got in trouble as well,
So then I just stopped paying attention altogether.
And so the reason I wanted to tap on that real quick is because Eastern philosophy is a whole different ball game. And a lot of people, especially more recently, have been looking to Eastern philosophy because it offers something a lot more comforting. When it comes to Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism.
Well, you know what that is? It's reincarnation that it offers.
Exactly. The ring that people love the
everything
idea.
has more meaning when there's more than when the soul goes on, when it's not just this puny little existence, when it's not just this time around and it's so short in the blink of an eye. Once you realize that, your soul is eternal, it's like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's another reason why they don't tell you that. I mean, mystic Christians and mystic Jews have always believed in reincarnation. Shh, nobody tell the evangelists because they just can't handle that. I don't know.
And it's strange how, just speaking from experience again, it's strange how watching people react to the topic of reincarnation, because they get very uncomfortable. And what I saw was that people feel very this specific mythology, then people that believe in it feel very uncomfortable because they are earning something by all the things that they do, all every going to church every Sunday, committing to that, the tithing, giving their money to God, there's that, and all the charities and the what do you call it, volunteer work and all that stuff that they do it
to get into heaven.
And the people who aren't doing any of this and who don't commit to these things and dedicate themselves to these practices have equal right to them. They feel that, well, the people who do wrong should burn in hell forever, and we should be rewarded for our dedication to a life of following God's commandments.
That's just a ploy to get you to waste your whole life.
And it's really sad, the brainwashing that we have been under, in this part of the world. The way in which we have been conditioned to believe the things that we believe, because there are two dominant mythologies. The one I've already been talking about, Christianity, and then there's the scientific one, which is that the universe is an orphan. It had no father or mother, and we are a spontaneous random fluke way on the end of some galaxy, and our life has absolutely no meaning or purpose. And I think we're getting to the point right now in our growth and our evolution consciously that we are sick of both of these narratives, because we feel innately that there is something more to all of this. And the Eastern philosophies give you an example, or at least teach you how to tap into that, because that thing that we feel innately, that there's more to me, there's more to all of this, and my experience in it has something more to it as well. So they teach you, in Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and so on, that it's the divinity, the divine spark is in you. And we talked about this last night briefly in the Bhagavad Gita. And
they said that it's about ego too. It is. Mm-hmm. And I think it's about ego in the way that, like, it's kind of a metaphor. A lot of stuff in the Bible and like is a metaphor for like Kundalini energy and like the whole the chemistry bit of having an ego death. You know what I mean? And bringing your chi, or whatever you want to call it, whichever word you want, prana, whatever word you want to use for it, and connecting all of your energy centers. A lot of people think that that's what a lot of the Bible is based on, and it's probably true. I mean, that's what the tree of life is all about, and the Kabbalah, So I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of Christianity back in the day, like. You know what I mean? That they all stem from that tradition. It's just at one point they flipped it, flipped the script.
Yeah, well, I mean, Christianity basically, the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church basically said, okay, Jesus Christ is the Son of God, but let us stop right there.
No one else is allowed to be.
Nobody else is allowed to be, because anybody else who has this mystical experience,
then everybody's going to think they can, and then we won't be able to control anybody.
Like if somebody had a spiritual awakening, I'm going to get to the mystical experience in just a little bit. But if somebody had this mystical experience down in the Bible Belt, the only way they would know how to express this incredible divine experience is by proclaiming that he's Jesus Christ, because he feels fundamentally that he has embodied something and it's divine. And the only way he can relate to this feeling is by relating it to the best example that he's grown up in, and same thing with Hindus. When they had this divine experience, it's coming into unity with Krishna. Same thing with Buddhists. And so it's all of these prophets, all of these are descended masters, whatever you want to call them. Really, they're sons of God, just like we all are, but they had a type of consciousness that was elevated. It was a cosmic consciousness, and they came here basically to say, hey, wake up, man. So and when I was going through the Bhagavad Gita, like I saw how very easily that Christ and Krishna and Buddha all were very, very easily the same person, the same consciousness, or just people who elevated to the same type of consciousness. And what's true for them is true for all of us. We can all get there. It's just a matter of...
You know what else is funny? They said the only way to prove it is to perform a miracle. And right, but look at all the saints that did perform miracles, and they only became saints. They weren't allowed to be sons and daughters of God. You know what I mean? There were people that were able to freaking make miracles happen. And guess what? Most of them were killed for it. Joan of Arc.
I've had people ask for me to prove it, to do a miracle because of the podcast I used to do. I had all kinds of people. I talked to people from all over the world, and some of these people would get pretty upset. And she first podcast she dropped in on. I
have no control over my temper sometimes. I'm getting better. I'm getting a lot better. Phew, man, I don't have the patience for that nonsense.
But people always want proof. Perform a miracle.
I'm like, why are you on here arguing with these people? I'm stressed out. You're giving me anxiety.
Alan Watts actually was asked to prove that he was where he was at, in consciousness, and he said the wicked, the The corrupt and wicked,
Right.
the wicked and corrupt generation seeketh the sign, and no sign shall be given. And that was his reply to somebody asking for proof. And just and what we got to do, really, when if we get to this place, where we discover this about ourselves, and we want to give and reach out a helping hand to those people, and we just got we got to keep our composure, not let ourselves react, to people who are like that, because according to Carl Jung, we were just listening to this, that's shadow projection, and people are always going to shadow project their insecurities, their unworthiness, their self-doubt, and so on onto you if you challenge the narrative that they believe in. And
Some people
that's
turn into downright narcissists.
well, I mean, that's yeah.
They snap.
Well, they're pushed into it a lot. I mean, I'm not saying every person is, but a lot of people
They just start throwing insults at you because you don't have the same point of view as them. It's wild.
It's yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
You sheeple, like what? Oh, that's another thing. I don't know if I said this to you guys. I am like really, really against the idea of chosen people. I'm really, really against the idea that any human beings are better than any other human beings in the face of the planet in the eyes of anybody ever. And I can't stand that like self-righteous bullshit about how, you're asleep and we're awakened and we're the chosen ones and blah, blah, blah. It's a whole bunch of bullshit. That's really how I feel.
So what we want to
we're all chosen.
We're all exactly. If you have life, if your heart is beating and you are breathing and you are a living being, then you are chosen. There's no, I don't know what all this 144,000 chosen people thing is that's like really circulating and getting very popular on the internet. I mean, I know where it comes from, but
Dolores Cannon, everyone thinks they're part of the 144,000. Yes. Well, that number came from the Jews. That's what the number that was in the Bible, the 144,000 chosen one. But Dolores never said anything about 144,000. She said waves of volunteers, and everybody they took the two things and smashed them together. But that's because, I mean, the New Age movement has been hijacked by the church, clearly, because people are like running from one to the other and back again, and they're all toxic. You know what I mean? Not everybody, of course, but like a lot of that is what's going on, where they're like, the things are blending together, and it's just, it's all the same type of programming. You know what I mean? It's all the same type of programming. And I'm not saying that Dolores didn't find this out from people's higher selves in hypnotherapy. I believe she probably did. I mean, that's pretty much why I want to learn QHHT. I think hypnotherapy is fantastic. Is amazing. It's interesting, and it's definitely something I believe in. But it's just the way people take that stuff and run with it like it's written in stone, and like now all of a sudden they're positive because they want to be so bad. They are one of the chosen ones, and like it's just like, whoa, with the spiritual ego, we got to turn that shit down, people, just a little bit. That's yeah.
The I don't have anything against Christianity, and I don't have anything against this New Age movement. I just don't like what people have done
I have
to
a thing
both
with
of them.
bypassing is what I have, and not taking responsibility for your shit.
I just don't like what people have done to these two beliefs, and I don't like what they do to themselves by believing that it's true.
I don't like it when they tell other people what they have to believe or make laws about other people. When it comes to, like, I'm sorry, like, I don't think that's a correct thing to do. I don't.
And by saying I don't like what I don't like by believing that it's true, it's by like what she said, by just going with everything in a literal sense, and then suddenly feeling that in some way that you are superior by accepting that is the concrete, absolute, universal
truth. If you think you're superior in any way, this is my opinion, my humble opinion, I will always be a student. I will always be an apprentice. I've heard that's, because I don't think that anybody that has any kind of superiority over another, even if they are a lot higher in consciousness, they would never look at it that way. They would at least be, I think people that get that far have to learn how to humble themselves far more
Absolutely.
than that,
Absolutely. So who here knows what anything about the spiritual experience? Like, some people call it kundalini, some people call it spiritual awakenings. There's many different names for this experience, but it's universal. It doesn't matter what religion you belong to. It happens to anybody at any given moment spontaneously. The only reason why I ask is because what I really feel, what our purpose here is as human beings, is to awaken. And I don't mean awaken from the matrix. Like, we don't live in a computer simulated reality. Like, this whole thing is blowing up all over the internet too. Like, I gotta escape the 3D matrix, and you know we're not here to escape anything. We are here
No, the hell would be here for if we were supposed to escape it. This ain't the Hunger Games.
We are definitely,
I think that there's likely that they're trying to turn it into the Hunger Games, but it isn't the
but we're not here to escape anything, but we are here to awaken to our potential, to our divine unity, which is like escaping the illusion of Maya. According to Hinduism, that there's the illusion of Maya. We do escape that.
There is an illusion that we have to escape, but it's not outside of us. It's our own illusion that happens from our programming, from the way our perception is designed.
No, we are all brought into this world, and we're put under some type of hypnosis. Like, is that the right word? Yeah, it's
a forgetting, an amnesia.
Yeah, a forgetting. And we're here to remember. We're here to rediscover what that is, which we really are.
An unlearning and a remembering.
Mm-hmm.
Remembering and unlearning. Yeah.
So that's the reason why I was asking about, if you had any knowledge about it. And back right before quarantine hit, well, it wasn't before quarantine. It was before COVID became a pandemic. It was still in China. Right around that time, late December 2019. That's what happened to me. It hit me, and hit me hard. And when it hits you, you know it. And because you go one moment, you're this one person, and you have these judgments, and you have these perspectives, and you have these likes and these dislikes, and then suddenly you're thrown into this sudden moment of sensation of absolute expansion and singularity, where suddenly everything matters, and at the same time nothing matters. There's no greater this, better that, no wrong this and right that.
I've never experienced that exactly. Unless I was on drugs. I never did. honestly, hallucinogens. I had a feeling like that, but it wasn't like one instant I was different and one instant I changed. I gradually got like that. The more and more sober I got, the closer and closer I came to feeling like that naturally every day on my own. But it wasn't like an instant thing like for you. The only time that ever happened to me was when I was on a lot of LSD.
Well, I mean, it happened, honestly, from my understanding, it happens to everybody at one point in their life or another in different levels. And people can disregard it as like just something, like, they don't really know what it is, but it really doesn't matter, and they'll shove it aside, and they really won't contemplate on the significance of that moment. And then for some, like, it's an elevation that's absolutely cosmic. I don't know really where mine lies. I don't try to at all in any kind of way compare it to lower or higher, because it was beautiful and it was divine in the way that it happened. But what I can tell you is that I saw exactly what I am, and who I thought that I was totally dead. And of course, I had the entire time during quarantine to develop this, to discover this, to go in deep into this through esoteric, manuscripts and to build myself and learn exactly, well, if this is what I am, then that's what everybody else is too. Because I can't exist in this universe that is divinely created, being a divine being and nothing else, or at least there's a lack of divinity out here in the world. That everything is divine and everything is exactly the way it needs to be. And there's no error in any of it. Creation creates error by putting the concept of what error is onto something else. So
and that's that metaphysical law again. It's true. It's true. It's the metaphysical law.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm just having fun.
You're laughing at me.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
You're right. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Oh, I know.
I'm not saying you're wrong. But there is still right and wrong. I'm sorry. If you're in a body, there's right and wrong. You can't just it's not like you can kill people and be like, but there's really no right and wrong. Like, come on. You got to be careful. People will take that seriously and run with it. They'll be like, yeah, nothing's wrong.
I'm not offering bypassing by saying
not.
that.
Of course not.
I'm saying that on a
would
deeper.
Never think that.
I'm not saying you think that. I'm saying that when you get to a certain point, though, yes, there is right and wrong. Yes, there is. We have the free will to make decisions.
Free will is another tough one. It makes my brain turn into a pretzel sometimes.
But it's like I said earlier. What was true for these prophets, these messiahs, these these Buddhas, these Christs, these Krishnas. What's true for them is true for all of us. And what Angela and I really want to offer is a tangible road to a deeper level of insight, and I truly have confidence that, through this program, that through what we've learned and through, being in a very narrow road of mindfulness, there more doors for not just for you, but for all of us can open up. This is a team effort. We are all walking each other home, as Ram Dass said.
Exactly.
So that's what we are here to do. We
just having you guys on here, going back and forth in the conversations. I'm learning. You know what I mean? Right.
And this is what we enjoy, the interaction, to reach out and be a service to others.
But I also can tell you the steps that I took to get from feeling a certain way to get to a better place, and to go from a place of having a small world perception to having total, complete insight and being able to perceive the world in a different way, but with radical honesty, through some steps and some radical honesty. And it's absolutely a path that you could take to transformation. And there's a lot of paths other people have, that are similar, that other people have used. There are other examples of it out there. But, I just felt like it would be really beautiful to create something that was made out of the things that I love the best about my journey, and putting it together for other people so that they don't have to run all over trying to find stuff that fits their personality and that they're into. There would be people enough like us where they'd be interested in the same types of things, and we could just kind of create this whole experience for us all to go through together. Radical honesty is admitting, being willing to consider that you might be wrong about your opinion of yourself. You know what I mean? Being able to be like, it happened to me, but did I really do anything to perpetuate that? Being radically honest with yourself, to the point where, most people would walk away from it. They probably wouldn't sit. And a lot of people don't want to be that honest with themselves, and really struggle with being that honest with themselves. When you feel really stubborn and you don't want to admit something to yourself, and you want to cry because you're so stubborn, you don't even want to admit it, and then you get annoyed at yourself, like that. But being honest with yourself anyway, even though it's uncomfortable, and being like, yeah, I absolutely am contributing to that because I'm being jealous or because I'm being selfish, or, it's that's those things that you don't want to admit about yourself. Because we all have like those moments that we're not proud of, where we're like, I was acting pretty greedy, or I was acting, selfish, or, whatever have you. We all have those moments where we're less than what we know we could be. We're less than what we know we should be, even at our darkest moments. And it's also being able to not. It's about the radical honesty, but it's also about that radical self-acceptance. Being able to accept that yourself as you are without blame or shame or guilt. It's a process, and that I believe, if we are committed to self growth and self awareness, that we work on consistently for the rest of our lives. Like, I don't think that's something that's ever over. I was doing it right before we turned this on. I was doing we did a meditation. I put on a guided meditation to release resistance, because I felt a lot of resistance today. All sorts of stupid things were going on. It's just, sometimes we have bad days. Seriously, I broke my phone. Just dumb things. Like, nothing was even that serious. But sometimes, and we're doing something that's different right now by showing up tonight, by doing this, by putting ourselves out there. It is doing something that's different for the mind. And the brain will try to fight you. The brain will be like, oh, we're not comfortable doing that. And so you'll come up with all these reasons. I just feel crazy. I don't tell myself I don't want to do it. I definitely want to do it, but I just feel crazy for no reason. And I'm like, okay, this is my brain trying to get me to self-sabotage. Really, things like that. There's always going to be resistance when we're trying to rewrite patterns, when we're trying to do something new, when we're trying to make decisions for for our future self instead of for our current self, because the decisions that we are making today, right now, are the decisions that are going to shape our tomorrow, or that are going to shape this time next year, the decisions that we make now. So if we can align ourselves with that vision of the future and make our decisions from that place, you know what I mean? But your brain's going to fight you. And your body's going to fight you. They're kind of like PTSD in a way, where the body reacts to at the same time in that same trauma response. And it's just, that's why we have tools. That's why I adore earth magic. That's why I love mindfulness. That's why I use hypnotherapy for a tool. That's why I do all these things, because like, they're fun to read about. They're cool to know about. But if you're not using them, they're not going to be very helpful. It's having the presence of mind to use the tool when you feel crazy and you don't feel like focusing on anything. It's really easy to not do it. What were we watching the other night? And somebody said this quote that I had never heard anybody say before, but it hit me like a ton of bricks. They said, when you do spell work, or when you do a ritual or a ceremony, what you're doing is you're sacrificing the mind to the heart. And then you're thinking and creating with your heart center. And so that's what the physical actions of doing a ritual are for, to focus your energy so that you can leave your mind. Your one side of your brain's occupied with the doing the things. The other side of your brain is letting the subconscious through, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, the quote was, when you sacrifice the mind to the heart speaks.
Well, time is complicated. So yeah, there technically is only really the present, but like, we have experienced the past. So it's, but technically it's all happening at once. And so that can get kind of confusing. The present is the only place where you have any power at all. Because if you're not doing something in the present, you can't fix the past. If you're not you can't do anything but be when you're in the present. You can fix what's going on, but you can't like fix the future. You can't fix the past. You can, I think that we can contact past lives. I think that we can speak to our, a past version of ourselves and future version of ourselves, but it's all done through visualization and the imagination and intuition. It's not something that like, you're actually time hopping. But I also think that through genetics, and I was started to say this last night with the epigenetics, that information is passed on, and memories from our ancestors are passed on to us in our DNA. And so we have their memories too. And so I feel like some of the decisions we make in our present are able to actually make a difference in our past and future also. And I see them as parallel realities more than I see them as time, separated by time and space. Does that make sense?
Time is nonlinear. Right now, all we have that's tangible is the present. So there is always only the now. There's never really any past. There's never really any future, because if you can tell what's going to happen in the future, if you can predict accurately what's going to happen in the future, then you've already lived it, which becomes the present. So all we possess. Sorry, guys. All we possess is the now, and there will always only ever be the now. That's why I don't believe in this thing called the hereafter, because everything is in the now. The here, like by saying after, it's almost like saying like, well, that means after death. Well, there is no death. Death is a human construct. We're just talking about transition of energy, and that transition of energy from one place to another is always in the now too. So there's never any before or after. We just feel like we're experiencing this thing that's happening called life between two infinite darknesses.
And then you have the whole multiverse theory, where there could be infinite parts of your soul that are living their own experience at the same time that you're living this experience right now. And so there's that whole having every decision you make, it splits, and you have all these other lives. Like, that's fascinating. I don't have any idea if it's true, but it's a fascinating way to think about it.
Yeah, I've heard some different beliefs around that, like, you know, where you spread out, like you I can't really think of the terms that they use, but I know
fractal.
What you mean.
It's like you're fractal.
Become fractalized, basically. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But it's complex, though.
I don't pretend to know the answers. I find this stuff so interesting, though. I find it so much fun.
Branch. That's a good one. Thank you. Yeah. My wheels are turning a little bit too fast in my brain tonight. I've been preparing for this all day, so like I'm trying. My mind is moving faster than my mouth, so excuse me. So just bear with me, please.
I can be like that too, but this week is not one of the weeks for that.
But yeah, we're coming up on. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're almost at 50 minutes already.
I know.
This went fast. Oh, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out with us for the last couple nights. You guys are the best. Seriously, I really have enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed the conversations we've had. I
just want to take a few moments and would love to know if you have any questions. I mean,
yeah, ask away.
Just take just some time. I mean, like,
if you guys want, we can set up a Zoom call tomorrow night and talk face to face. That's a suggestion, if you guys want to. We didn't have anything planned for tomorrow night. We thought about adding a fourth day. So, like, if you guys want to come back and have another conversation, just let us know. We could totally do that. We're going to be here. Or we could get on a Zoom call together. Whatever you guys want to do. Tonight, what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to drop. I'm going to put the description for the Elysian project, what the offer is and everything. I'm going to put it in the community group. And I'm going to put it in my other group. I can drop it in this group too. That way you guys can just see what's included and everything on paper in front of your face. That way you can take a look. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the doors open for the program for people to enter with that, like all the extra features for the founding members that we were talking about. We're going to do that. And I'll just close the doors for that on Saturday night at midnight, so that we give people a chance to, you know, set up some calls with us if they want to and hang out with us. You have plans already tomorrow? Yeah, we could do it Friday if you want. Absolutely. Tomorrow, actually, we got a bunch of stuff that we could be doing too, honestly. Like, we're actually working on our business instead of hanging out and having fun, even though this is fun. I'm having a blast. But yeah, we could totally do that if you guys want to set up that, maybe a call Friday after work or even Saturday. Let us know what's good for you. I can put the info in the group, and I'm trying to think of what else. If you want, we could set up I could give you a link for a call, for a calendar where we're available, and you guys can set up a call between now and Saturday night. That would be cool. We could do that, or we could just decide now, or whatever is good for you guys. If you need some time to figure out what your schedule is going to be like and when you'll both have time to sit down together. Yeah. I'm excited.
Me too.
I'm excited. I'm so excited to get creating. Like, I can't wait to start creating this. I just wish I wasn't at work like 24/7. But I just said to Michael before we got on here, I was like, I have to start doing this. So like, I'm going to lock the door and I'm going to just record the videos that I have to record. Like, what, it is what it is. It's what happens when you work every day of the week and you don't have a day off. Like, you have to take time to do that kind of stuff, So yeah. You're full coming up. Yeah, that's okay. I will just I guess, are you guys in the community group? I don't remember if you guys are in the community group or not. I think I have your email though. That's what I could do. I could just email you guys the paperwork on that, and you guys can, let us know or whatever. And then we can we'll be back here in this group to do this same thing again. We're probably going to switch it up though and not have the same exact conversations. We'll have different subjects. We'll be doing it a month from now. We're going to do this again. So
yep.
Yeah, sounds good. Then we'll send you guys an email. We'll put the information in the community group. In this group before we close this out today, because we won't come back in this group for a while until we do the next one. But I'll leave the links for you guys to find everything that we talked about. There's a couple of resources I'm going to leave for you guys. And I'll also leave like the link to the community group if you guys want to go there. And the offer for the founding members thing. That way you guys could just look it over. Sweet.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us, guys. I had a freaking blast. I really did.
Me too. Really appreciate the interaction. And
yeah.
Was there any questions you guys had before we went? I wasn't sure if you heard me ask that. But if not, I mean, that's okay.
We talk over each other sometimes. We talk over each other sometimes.
I don't want to leave like
hop off and have people be like, well, we had questions. Yeah.
I'm just honestly, like, I mean, you guys sound like you have been a little bit more educated than a lot of the people I've talked to. When I did podcasts, people were always asking for questions and wanted me to come back on the podcast after it was over to like give them some one-on-one time. So like I try not to jump off too quickly. No questions. Okay, great.
Awesome,
well,
guys.
We appreciate you too. And
thank you so much for joining us. Seriously.
Yeah.
And like I said, if you guys aren't in the community group, hop in there, because every Monday night we're in the community group. And then I have a women's group, Misha, that I'm in. I do a ritual live in that women's group and on our the Four Winds business page. That's where I stream it. I stream it to both places so that they can't see each other's comments. So it keeps the women's private. We do that. The Four Winds, the Facebook page, and then the women's group. I'll put all the links on here on the timeline in here for you guys. But yeah, I do a live ritual every third Sunday of every month. Yeah. So come hang out. Thanks so much, guys, for everything. And Mike, if you're here too, thank you so much for joining. And anybody who's watching the replay, we'll probably leave them up till Saturday night. And then we will be back in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Take care, guys. Have an awesome night.